Good evening, Zimbabwe. You are listening to Studio 7 from the Voice of America on Tuesday, March 24th, 2015. And this is The Connection on LiveTalk. I'm Tungameli Nkomo.
And I'm Tatenda Gumbo.
Tonight, we are discussing illicit behavior among young people in Zimbabwe, including substance abuse and alcoholism.
Let's get connected together on Twitter, Facebook, using the hashtag #TheConnection. Our Facebook page is VOA Studio 7, and our Twitter handle is @VOA Studio 7. We can get things going also on our WhatsApp. Find us on 001-202-465-0318.
And for those who want to speak on air, you can give us a call on the following number: 001-202-619-2077. The number again, 001-202-619-2077, and we will call you back.
And of course, we're also streaming live on the internet. Catch us on voazimbabwe.com, voashona.com, and last but not least, voandebele.com.
This is your Youth Forum, The Connection, coming to you live from the Voice of America in Washington.
Youth organizations say cases of drug abuse and alcoholism continue to rise as young people in the country face harsh socioeconomic conditions. Substances like marijuana, Bronco Clear, also known as Bronco or Ngoma, and the mix commonly known as Nyayope of ARVs and rat poison have become most prevalent within the country.
Youth are also facing issues of alcohol abuse, which organizations say is tearing up their future. So tonight, we want to open up the mics to discuss these challenges and the consequences. Hongo tatenda nyaya iripano nasi inyaya ye alcohol abuse nema drug abuse nyaya iri kunzi nema masangano anoshanda nevechidiki hanzi inyaya yanetsa zvikuru munyika. Saka nokudaro tiri kutarisa kuti chii chingaitwe kubatsira vechidiki kuti vabude mudambudziko iri. Saka vanenge vachida kuti fonera namba dzedu dzerunhare kana kuti dzewhatsapp. Dzewhatsapp dzinoti 001-202-465-0318. Titumbirei namba dzenyu pawhatsapp ipapo, then tozomufonerai mupinde muchirongwa. Kana kuti mogona kutifonera zvekare pa 001-202-619-2077. Yebo, sihlobo sithandekayo yikuthi bana kuhlelo lwabasakhulayo, uhlelo The Connection. Lamhlanje sikhuluma ngodaba lokusetshenziswa kwezidakamizwa ngabasakhulayo ontanga phela okubikwa kuludubo olukhanya ludlondlobala elizweni. Abasakhulayo abaningi sizwa kuthiwa ababhema kakhulu insangu, abanye kuthiwa bayahlanganisa ama-ARVs le poison okubulala amagundwane ukuze badakeke, kanti abanye ngabanatha utshwala ukwedlulisa amalawulo. Yilo ke udaba singalo lamhlanje. Lingasitshayela inombolo lingasitshayela ucingo kunombolo ezilandelayo 001-202-619-2077, ku WhatsApp 001-202-465-0318.
Yeah, Ntunga says Rawataura, we want everyone to join us this evening, Pachirongwa Chedu, The Connection, where we're talking about the issue of illicit behavior in Zimbabwe amongst young people, and particularly those dealing with issues of substance abuse and alcoholism. But Ntunga nasinda tofara tatsikwa ne shamari yangu. So I think this will be halftime ladies night, I think. Amen. Tine guest here, in studio guest. We have Nyari Mashaya Mombe, who is the director of the Tag Life International organization, working particularly with young girls, young women. But we're very happy to have you here in the studios with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening, Zimbabwe. I'm loving the live show.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
So we'll just start by asking you, before we get into the topic of today, tell us more why you're here in Washington, D.C.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm here in Washington, D.C. For a program. I actually am coming from New York, where I was attending CSW, that is Commission on the Status of Women by the United Nations, that takes place every year, every March of each year. And this year's edition was special because of the very fact that it is it is from Beijing. I think you remember Beijing, that CSW actually came out, and we were celebrating 20 years of Beijing since 2000, since 1995, when Beijing was signed. Beijing being the declaration on the commitment for the empowerment of women. So this year we're celebrating the 20 years, and there was a lot of reflection and celebrations that were taking place in New York. So it's from New York that I just said, let me see some friends here in Washington D.C. since it's a stone away.
Of course, and see us here at Studio 7.
Yes, and to just say, hey, I need to be on these beautiful settings.
Thank you.
That's interesting. Ko nyari timbopinda munyaya yatokurukura nezvayo nhasi handizvo. Nyaya yekushandiswa kwema-drugs nevechidiki kuZimbabwe idambudziko rakakura sei zvii zvauri kuonawo kuHarareko?
Right. Nyaya yekuabhuswa madrugs ari kuabhuswa nevechidiki kunyanya vanakomana, saka inyaya iri kutonetsa sekutaura kwamaita manyatso dedemura mhando yemadrugs aripo, vana brongo, zvatiri kunzwa zvema-ARV zviri kushandiswa mazuva ano zvinosiririsa nekuti vana vechidiki vari kurasikirwa neupenyu hwavo. Nekuti kana mwana akuswera akadhakwa zvakureva izvo kuti pane zvimwe zvinhu zvanga achifanira kuita zvine chekuita nebudiriro yenyika zvaasisiri kukwanisa kuita. Saka zvinosuwisa kuti tiri kurasikirwa neyatingati generation, kana kuti tiri kurasikirwa nevechidiki vanga vachifanirwa kunge vachivaka nyika. Pane zvakawanda zviri kutaurika kuti zvingave zviri kunzi zvikonzero zvekuti vana vechidiki vange vachishandisa madrugs kana kuti vachishandisa izvozvozvo vachishandisa mhando dzemadrugs iwayo zvanana brongo, asi zvinhu zvinosuwisa. Handisi kuda hangu kuti ndibve ndaita kunge vanasikana vasi kubatwa nazvo, vari kubatwa nazvo. Vamwe vari kubhemawo, vamwe ndevanozonge vari vatingati mavictims ezvinenge zviri kuitika pakubhemwa kuri kuitwa madrugs aya.
Asi ungati hurumende kana kuti vemasangano akazvimirira ega pane zvavari kuita here panyaya yekubatsira vanenge vasangana nedambudziko iri like madrug addicts acho?
Right. So you find kuti mungatode kuziva kuti muZimbabwe nyaya yemadrugs haisi nyaya yanga iri kutaurika inganzi kuti tibvume kuti ritori dambudziko. Zvinhu zvakutanga kutaurika mazuva ano nekuvapo kwana brongo nekuonekwa kwakuitwa kuti vanhu zvinana ARV zvakubuda pachena, asi kuti titonyatsotarisa kuti pane kuferefetwa kana kuti tingati research, because mungada kuziva kuti isu semasangano tinowanzonge tichishanda neumbo hunenge uripo kuti pakaresearchwa kana kuti pakaongororwa zvikaonekwa kuti vana vari vakomana kana vasikana kana kuti vanhu vakuru vari kubatwa nenyaya yemadrugs vakawanda zvakadi. Saka ndinodaira kuti hatisati tave neumbowo ihwohwo. Zvinhu zvekuti titotanga kutotaura kuti ngapachive neumbowo zvitsetsenure kuti tizive kuti vana vangani, vasikana vangani, vakomana vangani, varume kana vakadzi vangani vari kutora madrugs aya. Zvichienderana zvikange zvadaro manje zvichatikwanisisa isusu kuti tichitange kuti tione kuti zvii zvinoda kuitwa, nekuti mukutsoropodza nyaya yekuti vanhu vangani vari kubatikana nazvo kana kuti paresearch inenge yakuitwa iyoyo ichataura kuti zvii zvingabatsire vana ava kana kuti vanhu ava vari kubatwa nazvo kuti vabve mumadrugs umu. takananganawo nekamiriro kakaita mamiriro ehupfumi hwenyika yedu, nyika yezimbabwe. Ndingangoti pane maservices kana mafacilities kana kuti zvingabatsire vanhu vakaita seivava zvinenge zvifanira kunge zviripo kana tichinge taona umbowo hwacho hwevanhu vari kuda rubatsiro. Asi ndiri kuti ndofunga zvinhu zvekuti government ingange ichitodirirwa kuti iendese mari ikoko kunana maservices like manana AA, you know, hatina mafacilities ari kutoshanda panguva ino pekuti tikasangana nevana vacho vari kuda rubatsiro vanoendeswa kupi, kurehabilitation kwacho tinawo here mafacilities kana ariko mashoma 1 or 2, ende 1 or 2 yacho ndeyekuti vana vakawanda vari kubatwa nazvo izvi mumalocation vakawandisa vasiri kuenda kubasa, vari kudindini, vari kuswera vakarara. Saka tikange takwanisa kudai zvichada kuti kuchivawo nemaresources anoitwa kuti kuva nemarehabilitation centers ekukwanisa kubatsira vanhu ava kana kuti vanhu ava.
Yeah, Ntunga's Nyari is saying that was one of the issues that we noticed today while we were doing our research. The issue that, you know, are there the facilities to assist those who are dealing with these issues of substance abuse? As you're saying, the ministry itself is saying there are some issues, of course, even in rehabilitation, where at this point people are sent to psychiatric care when they're dealing with substance abuse, although they should be getting rehabilitation assistance. I think that's a point that should be well taken, that you know, the facilities are a bit scarce when it comes to that. Yes.
And I think also another issue to mention is that I think we have not yet even, it's substance abuse in the country is not something that we have recognized or said it's a problem that we have. I don't think we have accepted that we have that kind of a problem and the magnitude of it that we have. I think it begins with us admitting that we've got a problem, because sometimes when you see, I think there's a negligence of saying whoever is abusing substances, we don't really sometimes care about them. We don't care. We just say it's a lost cause. They've messed up for their life, whatever, you know, we treat them as such. And maybe those whom you then hear about having to be sent to the psychiatric units, they would have gone to extreme ends, and it's not a lot of them who get those services.
We'll just hold you there.
And before we pick up our next guest, Tatenda, of course, last year there was research done by the Anti-Drug Abuse Association of Zimbabwe, and I'm reading a paragraph from a story from the Financial Gazette, which says statistics from the Anti-Drug Abuse Association of Zimbabwe reveal that drug abuse in local schools has reached alarming proportions, with 43% of students interviewed last year indicating that they know of schoolmates who smoke cigarettes and take drugs. You know, of course, this is not only about, young people, school leavers, and, young people in the streets. Even, kids in schools, one way or the other, they are, those errant ones that you will find taking drugs.
Yeah, also.
And also the Minister of Health, Parire Nyato, said in January that, drug abuse and substance abuse among young people is a cause for concern.
It is. That's absolutely true. At this point, we'd like to welcome our second guest on the line with us in Zimbabwe, Miss Fortunate Chidike. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome, madam.
Thank you. You are with the Active Youth Zimbabwe organization, which is working directly with youth to curb the issue of substance abuse. Can you tell us more about your organization and what exactly you're doing in Zimbabwe?
Thank you very much. Active Youth Zimbabwe is a youth initiative that was established in order to curb the issues of drug and substance abuse in Zimbabwe. So far, activities, most of which have been aimed to make sure that young people in Zimbabwe are aware of the impact, the effects of drug abuse. And we've been holding seminars, workshops, we've been attending even certain functions where drug abuse is spoken about, where young people are being told not to engage in drug and substance abuse. And that's what we have been, that is our mandate as Active Youth Zimbabwe.
How much of a problem is this, Chidike?
I think this is much of a problem, especially to the young people. It's an issue that has also been affecting even our schools, where you find even stories in newspapers where certain schools are expelling their students for abusing things like Mbanje, and Tabangana, where students were expelled for using Mbanje. There's even Columbus, where students were expelled for using, for abusing alcohol, for putting alcohol in schools. So I think this is an issue that is quite serious. And even our mental health institute, the LiveTalk TV, can confirm that more and more people are being admitted. More and more people are in need of rehabilitation due to drug and substance abuse.
Fortunately Chidike lo tatenda uyakhuluma ngenhlanganiso yakhe i-Active Youth Zimbabwe basebenza labasakhulayo eZimbabwe bezama ukuba khuthaza ukubana bengasebenzisi izidakamizwa. Uyakhuluma ukubana ludubo olukhulu kakhulu lolo, bayasebenzisa amaphilisi, bayasebenzisa imbanje, kanti abanye ngabaphuza utshwala okungapheliyo, bephuza okwedlulisa amalawulo, uzwe kuthiwa ngikhipha istress, kanti umuntu ubulala umzimba wakhe, uyazibulala njalo uyazibuyisela muva kundaba zentuthuko. Sizwile njalo uNyari Mashamombe esilaye namhlanje estudio lapha ukhuluma ngokuthi udaba lokusetshenziswa kwama-drugs ngabasakhulayo ludaba obekungakhulunywa ngalo kakhulu eZimbabwe lanxa kuludaba kuludubo olukhona kakhulu. Ngalokho we are trying to shed light on this a very important topic, and we have the experts who can discourage young people from getting involved with drugs.
Yeah, of course, that's the main point of our show today, is to bring to light what is happening. As Nyari said earlier, some people are not even talking about these issues, so it might be the first time that someone is even hearing that this might be happening in their communities or anywhere around them. But in Tunga, I think we can also introduce two of our guests who are also on the line and get to them. We have Mr. Wilson Box, who is the director of the Zimbabwe Civil Liberties and Drug Network. Wilson, thank you so much for joining us on The Connection. I think we might have lost him, but we also have Mr. Mikleo Mapfumo. He's the youth president of Zimbabwe United Nations Association.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thanks so much for joining us, Mikleo. Tombotaura ne research yamakaita last year focusing on the issue of mental health and substance abuse in Zimbabwe. Can you tell us what you found as an organization when you were focusing on this issue?
All right. First and foremost, like I said, I represent Zimbabwe United Nations Association, which is a people's movement of the United Nations, furthering the objectives and the mandates of the UN, and also working directly on other UN topical issues. And the issue of drugs has been a major issue on the United Nations calendar, which we also engage ourselves with high school students. So according to our research, we did last year with the Minister of Health, working directly with an organization called AFGETO, which is led by Mr. Simpangwenya. We managed to come up with a specific number which says that 65% of the youths who are mentally affected, it's because of the issue of drugs and alcohol abuse. And we've managed to do a follow-up on that 65%. And here are the reasons why people take drugs, especially the youths who are our age. First reason is they want to fit in. Second reason is they want to escape or relax. Third reason is to relieve boredom. Then the fourth reason is to rebel. Then the fifth reason is to experiment. And we managed to come up with a solution as to what are the causes of all these issues. And it all went back to the government. Why am I saying the government? We looked at the issue of border posts. Who controls the border posts? Because we are seeing that each and every day, these drugs are coming into the country. We look at Bronclear, we look at the double punch, Stalix, and the blue diamond. These are drugs which are coming into the country every day. And as we speak right now, these drugs are actually in the streets. So it's a major issue that's really affecting the youth. And it is a major concern because also on the statistics, we managed to see that out of 5 youths, 3 youths abuse drugs and alcoholism.
Uyaluza udaba lapha Nyari, uyakhuluma umnumzana Macleo ngama statistics. Kwama njani?
Into ezimangalisayo ukuthi abasakhulayo balodubo olunjalo. Kodwa ngizabe ngifuna ukuzwisisa ukuthi my city 3 out of 5 baya abuse ama drugs. Ukhuluma yini ukuthi lamankazana khona khonapho? I-statistics lezo zithinta yini amankazana labafana kumbe ngcenye 3 out of 5 batholakala ebafaneni? And then ngingafuna ukuzwisisa lapho.
Okay, vamapfumo muri kunzwa mvunzo hanzi 3 out of 5 yamuri kutaura nawo zvinobatanidza vasikana nevakomana kana kuti vakomana chete kana kuti vasikana chete?
Ya, ndinotenda neresponse yavapa. Tikada kutarisa pa5 vandataura ndikati 3 vari kushandisa madrugs. Research futi iri kutitaura kuti nhamba yevasikana vari kuabhisa madrugs nekuwedzera zuva nezuva. Saka tikada kutarisa kuti pa3 ipapo vari kuabhisa madrugs, taakuchidzoka futi mustatistics dzedu tochiti 1 out of 3 vanhu vari kushandisa madrugs pane musikana.
Right.
Saka muri kugutsikana.
So kucho kuti ngcenye if 1 out of 3 of girls are using drugs, kucho kuti ngcenye 3 out of 10, right? Kumbe 30% of ama girls. My city 3 out of 5 of youth. Kucho kuti ngcenye about 70% or 65% of ama youth basebenzisa ama drugs angithi. And then ku number leyo we will go there and realize that of that youth 30% is girls. That is an interesting, actually I didn't know that we have such a research, and well done to the organization. But also just to come back to what you mentioned Tatenda earlier, utewena about 43% I think from this research of school youths actually confirmed that basebenzisa drugs. One of the things I remember, I went to a workshop which one lady from the United States had actually who spent a lot of years working with young people and drugs. She says that when you ask youths, do you know someone? Kumbe, are you related to someone also in some drugs? That's the only time they identify. Kucho kuti bona bayabe ngafuni abasoze bekutshela ukuthi mina ngiyasebenzisa ama drugs. Abakudzi iwo kuti ndini one of them, but they'll tell you kuti in my class, do you know of someone who's using? They'll always tell you that. So it's something interesting to realize that while you're doing this research, some people will tell you that a few youths will own up to say, I'm one of these people who are using this drugs, but they know. So for me, that number simply means that a lot of our youths are at risk. For instance, when a research is going on, for instance, in countries like Zimbabwe, and then you find that 43% of young people are using, I would think that it's actually a little bit more than 43%. And it will also be interesting to note that when all is said and done, the young men or the men who abuse alcohol, yes, they are affected in the sense that they are missing out on their education. They're missing out on their education, but you find that girls usually carry the burden. For instance, when a girl, we've actually realized that recently in the schools, especially in Group A schools, there's been an increase of house parties in Zimbabwe, where young women go to parties and then they have intoxications or drugs put in their drinks. So it's one of the interesting things that's been happening.
Just hold on there, Nyari. We want to quickly give a recap of today's headlines for our listeners who might have not had a chance to listen to our daily news shows. In Tunga, of course, as we know, that we broadcast in Shona, English, and Ndebele daily. So, of course, this is time that we like to give our listeners a what?
A recap of our top news headlines.
bato reMDCT rinoti National Standing Committee yaro yasangana nhasi mangwanani muHarare ikasunga kutevera chisungo chakaitwa nekongresi yebato iri chekusapinda muchero sarudzo kusvika zvinoda kugadziriswa munyaya dzesarudzo zvose zvagadziriswa. Vari kukwikwidza musarudzo dzeby-election kuchirumhanzu Zimbabwe vakamirira bato reNCA vamunashe Mutodza vanoti vari kusangana nekutyisidzirwa kwenhengo dzavo nenhengo dzeZANU-PF mukutsvaga rutsigiro kwavari kuita. Gweta rinorwira kodzero dzevanhu muzvare Rumbidzai Dube vanoti hurumende inofanirwa kutsvaga mutungamiri weOccupy Africa Unity Square Vaitai Dzamara zvakasimba uye kuti vadzorwe kumhuri yavo.
Ibandla leMDCT namhla lihlangene lanquma ukuthi kalisoze liphatheke ukhetho lwama-by-elections lakolunye ukhetho nje nxa uhulumende engaguqulanga indlela ukhetho oluqhutshwa ngayo. Umgcinisihlalo wabatsha kubandla leMDCT umnumzana Happy Mochidziba ubikwa echawe ngamasotsha edolobheni leHarare.
The MDCT's National Standing Committee met in Harare this morning and upheld its Congress resolution to boycott all future elections, including pending by-elections, until electoral reforms are put in place. Finance Minister Patrick Chinamasa has assured a visiting top German official that Zimbabwe is committed to upholding the rule of law, saying this is critical if the country is to attract international investors, which the country so desperately needs. Zimbabwe today joined the world in marking the International Day of Truth, and human rights lawyer Rumbidzai Dube says the government has an obligation to search for missing activist Itai Dzamara and reconcile him with his family.
And of course, Tatenda, those are our top news headlines. Yizo ge ebezi hamba pambili.
I'm sort of now.
Ongo, ndizo. Tunzoti tine another guest on the line.
We do, Ntunga. We have Mr. Wilson Box, who is the director of the Zimbabwe Civil Liberties and Drug Network. Magadi. Tambotaura just a bit earlier, focusing on issues that the organization yenu. Can you just focus particularly on the issue here, drug policy in Zimbabwe? Mambotaura kuti Panama conflicts ipapo, and you're finding it hard to get assistance from the government in that particular level.
Maitabas. Isusu Zimbabwe Civil Liberties and Drug Network tino kuruzira drug policy reform. Shireva kuti tinoda kuti hurumende inge ichitarisa mutemo unoongorora avo vanoshandisa zvinodhaka zvakaita sanambanje and the like. Pari zvino nyaya iri kuitika ndeyekuti izvo pane inonzi Criminal Codification Act ndo legislation inoshandiswa kuti inge ichiona kuti vari kushuta mbanje kana vakaonekwa vainadzo vanotongwa zvakadini. Saka you find out kuti izvo kuti avo vanoshandisa mbanje idzodzo kana vachinge vaonekwa vainadzo zvazvo vanotoenda kujeri, right? Saka in that alone, that's very penal imperative. Saka seZimbabwe Civil Liberties and Drug Network kuti hurumende ngaiongorore that legal framework whereby tiri kuti izvo isusu mitemo ngaunge uchikwanisa kurehabilitata vanhu, right? Kuti kana munhu achinge aonekwa achiita izvozvo, chekutanga anomboendeswawo kana kucounseling, oendeswawo kana kurehabilitation, right, kuitira kuti izvo vasange vachiita zvinhu zvakadaro zvekare. Asi nenyaya yekuti izvo mutemo unosunga munhu anotanga kutya, saka mbanje dzinotanga kusvitwa borongo
Box, can we just ask you, just Chimbomira and Yupa line, we just want to transition over to our full internet stream and say good night to our radio listeners. And in Tunga, of course, we'd like to thank our listeners and of course our viewers who will stay with us. And where can they go to continue watching us?
Valaleleyo hambani go www.voazimbabwe.com gombe www.shona.com lo www.voandebele.com lingaika chana.
And to our guests, please remain on the line and we'll be right back to you after this short break. And Yari, don't get up, don't go anywhere. We'll be
welcome back, Zimbabwe. We are talking drug abuse and substance abuse among young people today.
And Ntunga, of course, we want everyone to keep connecting with us on our Facebook and our Twitter pages, and of course on our favorite platform, WhatsApp. And the number for that is 202-465-0318. Notibata ipapo. And you can also call us directly, 202-619-2077.
Yebo kunjalo Tatenda, lingasichayela ucingo njengokusho kukaTatenda ku 202-619-2077. Kumbe lisibambe ku WhatsApp ku nombolo esithi 202-465-0318.
And Mr. Wilson Box, you were continuing what you were saying. You can go right ahead.
Okay, saka ndiri kuti izvo mutemo ngauongororwe so that unge uchikwanisa kubatsira vanhu vari kutora madrugs anokora. Toda kuti mutemo uyu unge usave uri very punitive, but pari zvino zvauri vanhu vari kushuta madrugs muchivande ndinoona kuti vakabatwa vanoenda kujeri. Asi mutemo kana ukanzi izvo vari kushuta izvozvo varwere mapatients vabatsirei vaendesei kuma-rehabilitation center. Tinoona kuti dambudziko iri tinokwanisa kurikurira bhonzi tichakwanisa kunge taakutoidentifya zvakanyatsomakisa kuti avana ava ndevembanje dai vamboendeswa kurehabilitation yakati tichiita kuti zvinhu zvedu zvifambe munyika.
Ngibuye kuwe fortunate chidike ngiyazi njengonyari la uyatopa isi Ndebele. Ungasitshela njengenhlanganiso nxa likhulumisana labo abahlangana lodubo lokusebenzisa izidakamizwa kakhulu esingathi ngama addicts abenza lokhu, bayavuma yini ukuthi balohlupho njalo bayaludinga na uncedo?
Abaningi abalohlupho lokusebenzisa izidakamizwa, and okokuqala service kulisana labo bese ukuthi baku-accept ukuthi bayakwazi na ukuthi izidakamizwa ziletha nhlupho bani empilweni zabo, bayakwazi na ukuthi ukusebenzisa izidakamizwa kuyinto embi njalo kuyinto embi ngani emzimbeni yabo, njalo singathi khona kumind yabo engqondweni. Sikhangela njalo ukuthi nxa sihlangana labo abantu abanjalo siyabachasisela ukuthi izidakamizwa zisebenza njani emzimbeni, ukuthi ngathi njenge-example ukuthi izidakamizwa singathi ziyalimaza umzimba. So ngezinye zezinto thina sibatshela ngazo ukuthi bayakwazi na ukuthi izidakamizwa ziluhlupho bani emzimbeni yabo nasempilweni yabo nje. Yikho sithi sibatshele khona bayokwazi ukuthi izidakamizwa zihlupha ngalokho, njalo kumele baphatheke kwezinye izinto abangaziyenza nxa kungabantu abatsha, baphatheke kwezemfundo, bangatshoni bedlalisa isikhathi senza okwezidakamizwa.
Bakhona eselike labaphathisa watholakala umuntu echiya izidakamizwa kokuphela?
Okumanje ngathi silabo esincedisana labo, angeke ngitsho ukuthi sebetshane lazo izidakamizwa, kodwa baku-process ngathi baku-stage esokuthi behlukane lezidakamizwa. Singathi thina ukutshiyana lezidakamizwa akusiyo nto enzakala nje mahlayana nje kumbe ngelanga elilodwa. Kwenzakala nje umuntu eqala echiya bese isikhathi engakwazi ukuthi uchiyelane, engakabi singathi le-confidence yokuthi achiye izidakamizwa, kodwa ekugcineni kwakho konke ugcina umuntu esechiyile izidakamizwa.
Hayi siyabonga chidike ungayikachana ari kutaura fortunate apa tena ndangalamvunza kuti ko avo vavari kushanda navo vari kubatsira vatingati ma-addicts varipo here vari kuwanikwa vachisiya mabasa aya kana vawana rubatsiro, but ari kutaura iye kuti they are still working on that. Varipo vari kushanda navo.
Nomboenda ku McLeo ndovunza kuti Pamaita research and you reaction yacho say, especially coming from my parents, one wechidiki, were they open to this research that you guys did?
Chekutanga chandingada kukomentera vanhu chekuti vabereki havasati vaadmita kana kuti havaadmiti kuti vana vavo vanoshandisa madrugs. Iyi research takanyanyoiona especially mumaboys high schools. Ndisazokwanisa kutaura mazita but ndingadata kuti maboys high school mazhinji ndokunoshandiswa madrugs. So if you try to educate vabereki vacho kuti vana vanoshandisa madrugs zvakadai kana kuti mumba mukazoono zvinhu zvakangoitawo kunge zvakadai anenge ari madrugs kuti vaadmiti kuti mwana vanoshandisa madrugs havasi kukwanisa vabude pachena.
Your reaction, you understand much. Yes. Are parents open to this idea that their kids might actually be using drugs recreationally, maybe abusing any kind of way?
I'll tell you that, Tatenda, it's a good note that the researchers have done to realize that in Zimbabwe it's a problem, yet denial. Yeah, especially my parents, for any sort of problems that their children are going through. I'm not surprised that their researchers revealed kuti my parents anoramba kuti azviskuitika. And the shocking thing actually will be vanenge vachizviona. They can see kuti mwana wavo is not normal, but they will refuse to use the second party. I think it's the fear of dealing with the issue to say ndomtangira pai, because usually vana vakadaro they are. I liked it was so interesting to hear the researchers talking about the five key elements or the 5 key causes of abuse of drugs, and contrary to what we've been believing, they didn't mention any of that. They mentioned one of the key issue was trying to fit in peer pressure, trying to fit into with friends and a whole lot of other things that had nothing to do with economic. Yes, we know maybe in a way, but most of the young people who are affected are very young, who are school going. That's where they started. I think it's rare. We would want to find out even further if they interrogated the fact that at what age do young people start dealing with drugs. But you find that it's rare to find a 19, 20-year-old starting there. Maybe they may be there, but there may be few. But what I've noted is the influence of others, the influence of peer pressure. And our parents are not willing or agreeable to the fact that their children are affected. This is not only affecting Nyaema drugs. You find even kuti amai vakazoti mwana wavo arikuita some illicit behaviors, not only about drugs, but even maybe kuti actually, I wanted to bring the issue kuti mu Zimbabwe right now tichitaura nenyaya education, yes, sexual education, comprehensive sexual education with young people. And some things like this. We deny kuti vana vari engage early in drugs, in sex. So I think it's a question on ourselves to reflect, to say our young people are engaging at a very young age. And I think in terms of drugs, it's a question that I would like to pose to the researchers to say, what did it reveal? At what age do young people start engaging in drug abuse, especially boys and girls?
Let me just ask really quickly, because there was another point we saw today, the issue that some kids will say, I saw my parents doing it, or maybe my parents also doing it. What about that? Are you seeing that the case where kids are learning this from the household, or they're seeing this with relatives, family members, and this is something that they think, okay, this is a normal day-to-day doing?
I like to believe there is a certain percentage, maybe a smaller percentage of that, but I want to incline more to what the research brought out to say it's more to do with trying to fit in. But I want to also say it then reflects on how we as a people to say when we're doing what we do. For instance, when we take wine in the home, I remember one preacher actually was saying that it's important for us to teach our children not to engage in such behaviors until they reach a certain stage where they can make informed decisions on why should I drink alcohol, why should I take drugs, and be empowered. So I think in our culture as well, we come from a culture that does not empower young people to make decisions that are informed, to say these are the consequences of alcohol abuse. If you choose to take alcohol, these are the consequences. But we just come from a culture which says don't take alcohol, don't engage in sex. But we are not empowering the young people to be able to make choices, to say even when they are faced with peer pressure, they will not be able to stand or to point out to support the resistance. They can't resist because abanama points acho they are being given by their friends who probably have seen it on internet. So for me, it centers on family system or the family structure to say when we are in the home with the parents right now, kumamisha emakaya, are we having conversations with our children? Are we, even if a father is one who smokes and a mother drinks, do you have conversations? Or you can only decide to do this at a certain age. Wakura, you know.
Very interesting points from Nyari. We have the elephant in the room, and you know, as you know, an elephant is a very big animal, very gigantic, and Tatenda and I cannot, deal with such a mammoth animal alone. So we enlisted the services of our guests, of course, and we also have callers. Silo Pansen Osemberengwa. Kunjani mnumzane?
Ngiyaphila baba kunjani?
Hayi siyaphila. Kunjani emberengwa?
Yebo.
Ngithi kunjani emberengwa Pansen?
Yeah, emberengwa sibona ilanga elichisayo baba.
Okay, kuzalunga baba. Sikhuluma ngodaba lokusetshenziswa kwezidakamizwa lamhlanje. Kuyini likubona khona ngapha emberengwa bayazisebenzisa yini abasakhulayo?
Baba izidakamizwa ziyasetshenziswa ikakhulu abantwana abancane laba abasakhulayo baba-ke sigoqela ukuthi njengalapha mina ngikhona eMasasa Mission uzathola ukuthi-ke abantwana-ke u-form 4, form 5, form 6-ke impilo yabo vele yona-ke singeyokudakwa singeyani yokuyenza into ezingaqedakaliyo bebhema izimbanje benzani uzathola ukuthi loba suseklasini usithi-ke uyafundisa laba abantwana-ke babe bengasalaleli ngendaba yani yokuthi-ke izidakamizwa ziningi kakhulu elizweni lethu-ke laseZimbabwe. Engibona ukuthi kube khona ingxaki-ke ngabadala ngibona ukuthi abadala bayakwanisa-ke ukuthi bona-ke bahlale labantu ababo phansi babakhuze ukuthi mntanami lokho kunje lokunje kakuyenziwa. Ngibona sathi i-shortage ebakhona ngoba-ke last week sike saba lenkinga enkulu kakhulu abantwana besike bayadabula ifensi yesikolo-ke befohla besiyoyenza ukungezwanga ngale bebhema besenzani-ke kube ingxaki ekhulu sathi siyakhuluma labazali sibaxoxela ngale ndaba bakhanya abazali bengavumelani nakho-ke kodwa bekubona-ke ukuthi bona-ke isikolo sidajulele ifensi.
Wena Patson ungumbalisi kumbe la ungumzali?
Mina ngingumzali baba.
Uyathi ukubana abazali bakhanya yiba bangakhulumisani labatsha kakhulu ngodubo lolu lina njengabazali lodwa liyake lihlale phansi yini lithi madoda ake sibonisaneni ngelakusasa labantwana bethu?
Ukuhlala siyake sihlale baba kodwa kusuke kube khona-ke ukuthi kulokudonselana anti akwazi ukuthi vele amakhanda ngahlangana abe mathathu abe mane yokufa kube khona ukudonselana. Ngabe lesi sifiso sokuthi umntwana umfundisa ngithi kodwa nxa usumhlalisa ku-meeting ukuthi lihlale lenze i-meeting yokuthi-ke libonisane ngabantwana uzathola ukuthi omunye umuntu esithi hhayi owami umntwana lokhu kakuyenzi omunye uthole laye phume siyale fohla vele ukuze lilungisise i-community yona ibe right kuyaba kunzima kakhulu baba.
Hayi kuyezwakala mnumzana Panson siyabonga kakhulu.
Nami ngibonge kakhulu baba ngokuxhumana le-Studio 7.
Hayi kuyabongeka ndi Panson yotatenda ngachitaura ari kumberengwa ari kutaura nenyaya yekuti nyaya iri kunetsa chero kumberengwa ikoko asi ari kuti zviri kunyatso netsa maningi nyaya yekuti vabereki pachavo pane vamwe vabereki vasingapfumi kuti vana vavo vari kuita madrugs vari kuita zvisina kukonzera.
Same thing as Nyari was saying, people are still somewhat in denial this can be actually existing within their family structures or anything like that. We can go back to Wilson just to get your reaction on what Nyari said earlier, and also what our caller just said, that parents are very much in denial when it comes to their children or their loved ones and them using any illicit drugs.
Ichokwadi ndichasawa nechishona ichokwadi kuti vabereki vari kuzviramba vari in denial nekuti kana takatarisa nyaya dzemadrugs especially kumaschools munoona kuti kune zvimwe zvikoro zvinodhurisa anonzi maprivate schools aya ikoko kuri kuwanikwa madrugs emhando imwe pamusoro anodhura ausingakwanisi kuwana kunzvimbo dzakaita sana Mbare kana Mufakoti. Saka munoona kuti vana vanodzidza zvikoro zvakadaro nekuve exposed kune zvinhu zvakaita mamwe mafilimu avanenge vachiona kudzimba neinternet vanenge vachikwanisa kutedzera zvinenge zvichiitwa ipo paya votanga kuexperimenta ende maparents anenge achipanana yavo mari dzinoshisa dzavaenda vachinodya kuzvikoro nokuti vanhu vanowana. Saka vana vaya vanotanga kuita sekuabusa those privileges. Ndichakupai muenzaniso weimwe sport yakamboitwa pane chikoro chevakomana cheMahare. Kwakaita dambudziko rekuti pakaitwa mutambo werugby iwoyo paitorwa madrugs angosiyana kunyanya kune vana vaya vanobva kumafamilies akati kuti kudai hai. Saka through peer pressure muchaona kuti vaya vamwe vana vanenge vachidzoka pazvikoro izvo asi vachibva kune mamwe mafamilies mamwe asinganyanyowana vanenge vaakumbotedzerawo ende zvakazoita kune zvimwe zvikoro zvainzi magroup B kudhara muchaona kuti izvo ikoko influence yavo izhinji iri kune vamwe vaimbi vedu madancehall artist aya vezimudancehall nekune dzimwe dzimbo dzokunounzwa dzatanga kana kuimbwa padzezitanga pai vanenge vachikoshesa kukosha kwembanje kana kwechi zvimwe zvinhu zviri kuita kuti vana vedu vanenge vachiinfluenswa. Saka pavanozopindawo kudzimba kumaraini ufainda kuti zvinhu zvakaita sembanje brongo dzatikutaura nedzazizi kana kuti ngoma inenge yakungotengeswa vana vakungotora. Saka maparents is very true anofanira kugara pasi ana vachivadzidzisa upenyu nekuti makaona magariro ari kuita vana vechidiki kuno kuZimbabwe mamwe acho anotosiririsa nekuti wakaona like zvataurwa nemusikana akomenda kuti azviite kuti munhu azotanga kunorova mbanje kuma1920 zvinenge zvadzira kure. It's very true kuti at a young age possibly kuma form 1 form 2 you will find out kuti vana vanenge vakutoexperimenta nefodya vamwe nechii nekuti upenyu hwacho hwataakurarama hauna kunyatsomira zvakanaka.
Thank you so much. Wilson, just hold on the line there. We have Lawrence Garissa. How are you? Welcome to the program, Lawrence. Hello.
Hello, Ndiano Anduta Live.
Nditatenda kuno ku Studio 7 on the connection. Welcome.
Okay, tatenda zvirisei.
Tiri boku notara yenyu mapinda muchirongwa.
Okay, nyaya yemadrugs yanetsa zvichiwa vana vapanduka nyanya vechikomana vechidika mahwani chero.
Imi muri kuSouth Africa zviri kufamba sei kuSouth Africa? Anti pane problem inonzi iyoyo nyaya yope iri kuSouth Africa. How is it going there?
Andisuziya gozi inini ndakabva kutopinda mai manje muSouth Africa saka hasandaziva hasandazivi
tinoda kuti muzive futi musatomboziva but tara yenyu nesituation yekuZimbabwe.
kuZimbabwe vari kuabvisa madrugs kunyanya mbanje nemushonga unonzi brongo ere chichi handungonzwa nembiriyo mahwani chaiche.
Ko doro pacharo havari abuse here because you know we understand the issue of alcoholism is another serious issue.
Zviri zvedoro inini doro ndotorimwawo but ndona risina kushata zvangu zvinozoitwa nemunhu ndo zvakashata but inini hangu munozwa kuti kuno mwana unobarwa wakadhakwa kare saka akazowedzera doro manje zvinova zvatoita uye bati doro harina kushanda.
Mkoma Lawrence, thank you so much. Tinotenda.
Okay, thanks guys.
All right.
Okay.
Good.
Fortunate. The issue of alcoholism, fortunate. How serious is that?
It's a very serious issue, and I must point out to the fact that every drug, even alcohol itself, is classified under drugs. Every drug is essentially poisonous. I know some people may not want to agree that alcohol is poisonous or alcohol is also dangerous like any other drug. What happens with alcohol is it's like the amount taken determines the effect. So if you take a small amount of alcohol, it acts as maybe a stimulant to some. However, if you take greater amounts, now it acts as a sedative. And still a larger amount can poison. It can actually kill gradually. So the issue of alcohol abuse is prevalent in Zimbabwe. And young people, unfortunately, especially those of the school-going age, are taking up alcohol, sometimes due to peer pressure. And this is a serious issue that is causing some to not perform well in school. It's causing some to get expelled. It's causing some to even indulge in antisocial activities such as prostitution. I think such is the dangers of alcohol abuse, especially amongst the youth.
Anyari chimbopinda ipapo, the issue of alcohol abuse, but then also other types of abuses that often are overlooked, that sometimes people would say to you, abuse when it comes to what happens in school settings, home settings, that is also illicit behavior that can be found amongst youth.
And also nyarano dautara ye bullying, nyazo connecta ipapo things.
Right, so you find that we mentioned, I'm so passionate about this issue that you mentioned about how there is research has shown that kuma group A schools, for instance, pane certain drugs anotodhura noendera nekudhura nekuti vana vacho vane access yemari yakawanda. And then at the same time, and talking about my group A schools, I remember online pa internet there's been a lot of vana vanobuda vachiabuswa nemamwe my fellow students. For instance, I don't remember which schools zvangu for not wanting to bed list certain schools, but there are group A schools in Harare that have come out vakomana uchitoona kuti vakomana vari kuabhiza vakomana kana kuti vasikana vakomana vari kuabhiza vasikana or vice versa vachiabhuzana. But you find that both boys and girls are victims. And I think there is also an aspect I would like to know or to understand, an aspect ekuti vana they are bullied. For instance, kuma group A schools, my boys, high schools especially, where boys are bully each other, like my prefects achibula vana vadiki. And I'm wanting to believe that in that bullying you may find that vana they are actually bullied to take alcohol for the first time. You would find that they might actually be linked. And I think those who are doing this work, it will be very interesting. And I think for more money to be put into this work and more research to really get into the depth of saying vana vari kunyatsotanga papi, what are the effects. You spoke about nyekuti vana vari kunzi Fortunate actually spoke about vana kunzi vanozoexpelwa muchikoro, and I was actually reflecting kuti saka whose responsibility vabereki vari kuti vana vachibva kuchikoro vachibva kumba vachienda kuchikoro vari kufunga kuti vana vari kuenda kuchikoro, and they don't really sit down with vana right now. Kuchikoro vari kufunga kuti irresponsibility yemubereki kuti mwana wako anga ari muchikoro achibehave right, saka if your child doesn't behave we check them out of school. Saka you find that kuti at the end of the day it brings me back to the point yambotaurwa. I think never the other guy angachitore kuti it shouldn't always be about punitive measures to stop abuse of alcohol. Yes, it's good to have punitive measures, kuti vana vazive kuti there is punishment, but also we want to be thinking about how do we improve the lives of children, how do we take responsibility as a nation for our children, because vana vakawanda, it's not because they want to do that. It's because of factors that isusu sema parents, isusu senyika, isusu se urumende, we are letting them down. You know, and then at the end of the day, upenyu wavo urikuita messed up, kuchikora akaexpelwa, mwana akaita pregnant, that's it. We will only look at them tongoti their failures, but it's also we don't reflect on ourselves and say we didn't teach our children, we didn't do what we're supposed to do, we didn't put together facilities, and also kuti we didn't educate vana kuti what are the dangers, you know. So
and of course, you know, time is ticking away.
Yeah.
We are left with 5 minutes, and let's get things wrapped up.
Let's get it wrapped up. McLeo, we'll come to you because your organization did the research, and I think some of the things you said earlier really struck a chord. So what are the long-term effects of this, and what is the way forward really to start targeting this issue? And of course, this happened last year, your research. What has been happening since that time?
All right. If I can just comment in brief about what I've managed to come up with or what I've managed to research, I'm looking at the situation in tight.Ikatarisa kudhara zvikoro taiti for example kana mwana achidzidza kana paNeighboring Girls High kana paEllis Robins, vana vavo vanofanira kunge vari vana vanogara muNeighboring kana kuti vanogara muarea iri padhuze nechikoro chavo. But now we find kuti mwana anobva kunenge kuHighfield kana kuti kuMbare akuuya kuti azodzidzira kuzvikoro zvinoko okuti anenge achiva nemacultures are very different kubva kwaanogara. Now ndichilinka issue inyaya yemadrugs, there are two hotspots that takakwanisa kuona through our research. And up to now, I think we need to do a follow-up. Why is it areas are untouchable? Because even the police themselves want to seek areas also, but they don't do anything. In Highfield, there's an area known as Kwagwagwa. Then in Mbari, there's an area known as Kwagaza. One supply my drugs. And Panotoyavan are prominent. Supply yemadrugs vachitopinda nekubuda, but hapana kana record yekuti pana vanhu vasungwa kana kuti dzimba idzodzo dzaitwa close down. Saka muchaona manje kuti mwana ari kugara area iyoyo kwaGaza ari kuuya kuzodzidza kuMeiboreni anouya nemadrugs ari kubva nawo kuHighfield handiti osvika achiinfluensa vana vari kuMeiboreni pamusoro pemadrugs ayo, ende vana ivavo vachava pamotivation yekuti hamusungwe voisisweza kuti kwatiri kuwana madrugs akuita se hakusungwe munhu. Saka according to research kune vanogara padhuze pe2 areas idzodzo varitaura kuti the 2 areas vanhu vacho vanoona those 2 places they are influentially connected, saka havakwanise kuita se havakwanise kubatwa. Kumbari kwaGaza muridzi that area anonzi is a very prominent army general muarmy, saka havatobatike zvachose according to our research. Saka ndozvatokeda kuita mafollow-ups toone kuti how can we tackle that issue, because maareas that they've been there. And you got to an ordinary person dream over Gaza and Akwagwagwa. Even if you listen to most of my dancehall songs, can you listen carefully on those praises like Gaza and Akwagwagwa? They praise those areas, those finances are benefited from those areas. So I don't know, maybe the stakeholders who are involved in this discussion, if you can come up with a solution, and we can never fight the situation. People won't be afraid. They know there's nothing.
I thank you. Sorry, takupedzwa netime. Very sorry. Tine caller apinda pa mchirongwa. Wanya mziwa. Can you just join us for 30 seconds? Tapedzwa netime. Taure yenyu.
Alright. Dai mapurisa asinga interfere pa madrugs. Atayakwanisa kupedza dambudziko rekubhema madrugs muZimbabwe. Problem ndekuti imba inoitengeswa madrugs pane mapurisa anenge achitora mari makuseni nemanheru achizati mupurisa vanhu zvati mupurisa achayangwa dzakati kukolekta mari yake. Vanhu ivavo dai mapurisa asingade kupuhwa choko muhomwe nevanhu vanotengesa madrugs aikwanisa kupedzwa, vanhu vaikwanisa kubatwa vese vanotengesa madrugs ezopera. But the problem ndekuti mapurisa acho iwayayo anenge kuti pamba pakati napakati kwakati, like ini ndaigara kumarondera pana nduma Zimbabwe, taitoziva kuti panamba yakati paneto madrugs watona mapurisa kana 4 achiya kuseni nemotikari even matraffic kopu chaiwo anofamba nemabhemu aya aiti yakuseni opuwa mari
wanyamziwa tinotenda tapedza netime but tinotenda kuti mapinda muchirongwa chedu The Connection. Much appreciated.
And very very serious allegations against the boys in blue. Anzi vari kutora ma bribes.
And we quickly just want to say thank you to all of our guests, Nyari Mashai Mombe, Fortune Chidike on the line, Wilson Box also on the line, and Mekleo Mafumo for joining us today on The Connection.
Siyabonga bagwethu. Olivalelisa yo ngoNtungamili Nkomo.
And I'm Tatenda Gumbo. Everyone have a good evening and join us next Tuesday.